What if lifting weights isn't the most efficient way to stimulate your muscles maximally? What if there was a better, more thorough and precise way to do this that could save you from spending needless time and energy in the gym? In the mid-1990s, Mike Mentzer believed he had found such a way, dubbing it
literally one of the most stunning discoveries in recent bodybuilding science.
That discovery was static contraction training, a technique based not on how many times you move the weight, but on how intensely you contract the muscle in its most productive position in its range of motion, the fully contracted position. With his signature clarity and brutal honesty, Mentzer argued that most lifters were doing too much of the wrong thing and missing the most important part of the movement that truly matters. What emerges is not just a method, but a complete shift in mindset, one that continues to challenge the gym status quo and inspire those seeking the most direct path to muscular development. The flawed tradition of positive repetitions. Mentzer critically analyzed the traditional focus on the positive or lifting portion of the exercise and immediately saw a problem.
It doesn't contribute much to growth stimulation. Beyond that, it's even more negative again in that it makes a deep inroad into recovery ability.
This is a profound statement because it directly confronts a cornerstone of conventional training ideology. Most bodybuilders equate the successful completion of repetitions with muscular stimulation and growth. But for Mentzer, this is a misunderstanding of muscle physiology and purpose. According to Mentzer, the lifting phase is the weakest of the three strength levels you possess, and thus should not be your primary focus. The centrality of maximum contraction. In contrast to the positive phase, Mentzer champions the static contraction, where muscles are engaged fully in a held, contracted position.
The purpose of a bodybuilder is not to lift merely heavy weights. That's a power lifter's purpose. Let me reemphasize that. As a bodybuilder, dear listener, your primary goal is not to lift heavy weights, but to achieve high intensity or maximum contractions of the muscle.
This statement is foundational to understanding Mentzer's philosophy. Bodybuilding, unlike powerlifting, is not about demonstrating strength, but about inducing hypertrophy through maximum intensity. And intensity, Mentzer argues, is best achieved not during the lift, but in the moment where the muscle is under maximal tension.
Obviously, the only place that you can achieve a maximum contraction would be in the fully contracted position. That is the only position of the exercise where 100% of the muscular bulk can be activated.
It is in this moment of full contraction, at the top of a curl, at the apex of a leg extension, when science and sensation converge. The protocol, hold and lower. Mentzer outlines a precise methodology for static training.
Start holding your weight in the contracted position, at least in those exercises where you have resistance in the contracted position, and then lower.
This is a departure from rhythmic repetitions and introduces an intense focus on control and awareness. Describing his protocol with clients, he says,
I have been putting a heavier weight than normal on the leg extension machine, a weight considerably heavier than they can handle for 6 to 10 reps to failure. I help them into the straight leg contracted position, and they hold it there for as long as they can, literally, until they give me a signal that their static or holding ability is about to go out. And then I emphasize, now start to lower it very slowly under control.
This is not just physical training, it is psychological. Athletes are instructed
to shake their hands out, take a deep breath, reset psychologically, and let's do one more.
The emphasis here is on mind-muscle connection, not just mechanical execution. Empirical evidence from the trenches. Mentzer does not rely on theory alone. He provides real-world examples of his method's efficacy.
I had one client start up with me 3.5 months ago. He couldn't do the whole stack on the leg extension for even 1 rep. I forget what he started out with, but after 2 months, he was up to the whole stack for 14 reps. Then he hit a sticking point.
This plateau is a common frustration in traditional training approaches. Then came the intervention.
He couldn't go beyond 14 reps for 3 workouts. This was when I started working with the idea of static contracted holds and lowerings. For 2 or 3 workouts in a row, all he did was hold a very heavy weight in the straight leg position and lowered it, doing it 2 times in that fashion as I described. The next workout, we went back to see if there was a carryover to the positive strength, and his leg extensions went up to 20 reps. That's a phenomenal improvement.
It is not mere anecdote. It is applied physiology producing measurable outcomes. Duration over frequency. Addressing criticisms of low rep counts in his static method, Mentzer clarifies.
It's interesting. I had one kid say, well, how come your clients are only doing, in some cases, 1 rep or 2 reps? And I say, well, look, if you count the number of seconds that they're working, it's just as long, if not longer than 1 set.
Here, Mentzer reconceptualizes what a repetition truly is, not a count of motions, but a duration of muscular effort under load.
We've eliminated the least productive part of the movement and are focusing on the more productive part of the movement.
This simple yet revolutionary idea turns the entire notion of volume on its head. Why do 10 mindless reps when 1 concentrated contraction can deliver more? Mike found that his clients responded better to longer hold times for the lower body and shorter hold times for the upper body.
What I've been having my clients doing is holding the weights in the fully contracted position for up to 15 seconds. And then once they recognize their static strength is about to go, they start lowering the weight very slowly. I've been using it most successfully on the pull downs. You can do it there because obviously once you get into the contracted position, there is significant resistance. You have to fight to hold it there. What I do is put a little bit heavier weight than they might use again for 6 to 10 to failure. I help them pull the bar down into the clavicles, which is the fully contracted position. They'll hold it in this case for about 6 to 8 seconds, again until the static strength starts to go, then they will lower it.
Scientific foundation and muscle physiology. Mentzer backs his claims with physiological reasoning.
Your muscles, remember, listener, have 3 levels of strength: the positive or the lifting, the static strength, which is your holding ability, and the negative.
Most gym goers focus on only the first.
If you only work 1 level of your 3 levels of strength, do you see where it only stands to reason where you're not going to achieve full muscular development?
This multifaceted view of strength contradicts the reductionist model of pushing and pulling weights. It demands a more nuanced understanding of how muscles function under tension. Mentzer drives the point home.
On a deeper, more scientific, technical level, the science of bodybuilding exercise revolves around the issue of muscular contraction. The only position where you can achieve a full contraction is in the fully contracted position.
In other words, if your training doesn't target that precise point of total engagement, it is incomplete. Preferred exercises and equipment. In the book, Heavy Duty, Legacy Edition, Mentzer clarifies where static contraction training shines brightest. Quote, exercises where this technique may be employed most successfully are isolation exercises, i.e., those involving rotary movement around one joint axis, and which provide resistance in the fully contracted position. Close quote. He lists ideal exercises as pec deck, machine lateral raise, leg extension, leg curl, calf raise. He adds, quote, the best machines to use are Nautilus, since they were designed to provide full-range variable resistance with close to perfect resistance in the fully contracted position." Close quote. This attention to machine design reflects Mentzer's obsession with precision and efficiency. While Mentzer acknowledges that not every gym has the ideal equipment, he encourages lifters to start with what's available.
Now, the problem the listener is going to have is finding exercises in his gym that will enable him to do this. Now, most gyms do have leg extension machines and pull-down machines. Fortunately, over here at Gold's Gym in Venice, California, where I train people personally, we also have a full complement of Nautilus machines, all of which provide resistance in the contracted position. But don't worry about it too much. Do it where you can. Try it with the pull-downs, the leg extensions. See what happens.
While he praises Nautilus machines for allowing optimal resistance in the fully contracted position, he also reassures listeners that benefits can be gained with minimal tools. Refining the method from 2 holds to 1. A critical evolution revealed in the Legacy edition is Mentzer's shift from a 2-hold format to a more refined version. Quote, "In the beginning, I had my clients perform 2 holds with 2 negatives or lowerings. Now I have found that they do better with 1 hold and negative." Close quote. This represents more than a procedural tweak. It's part of Mentzer's lifelong effort to discard the superfluous in training and key in on what actually stimulates a muscle to grow. Rejection of tradition, a call to scientific objectivity. Mentzer's disdain for uncritical tradition in bodybuilding is palpable.
Just because we call this thing weightlifting, it's not cast in stone that you just lift weights. If you want to take a truly scientific approach to this thing, you've got to reject tradition, or at least question it.
This skepticism is crucial. Mentzer sees tradition as a barrier to progress, a relic that often ignores new evidence in favor of comfort and routine.
Most bodybuilders, knowing nothing about this, they don't even do the positive or the lifting properly. They throw the weight, and then once they reach the contracted position, they immediately let it flop back down, not emphasizing either the contracted position or the negative.
For Mentzer, this is not just inefficient, it is self-sabotage. These missed opportunities to stimulate growth are the result of ignorance and unwillingness to think critically. Conclusion: a paradigm shift in bodybuilding. Mike Mentzer's static contraction training represents not just a change in technique, but a paradigm shift in how we understand muscle stimulation and growth. His message is clear: intensity over volume, contraction over motion, science over tradition. He implores listeners to abandon the blind pursuit of heavy lifting in favor of targeted, high-intensity engagement.
As a bodybuilder, your primary concern is not to lift heavy weights. That's the purpose of a power lifter or Olympic lifter. As a bodybuilder, your primary consideration, your overriding concern should be to achieve high-intensity muscular contraction.
In a world saturated with misinformation and outdated practices, Mentzer offers a path forward, one grounded in physiology, rational thought, and measurable progress. By embracing Mentzer's insights, the modern bodybuilder can move beyond the limitations of convention and unlock the full potential of muscular development, not through brute repetition, but through focused, intelligent effort.